All right, I am excited to welcome everyone officially to this month's Business Boost track for the Middleton Chamber. My name is Kristen Parent, and today we are very excited to have Darcy Luoma here, who will be presenting her Thoughtfully Fit, Building Resilience in Uncertain Times. So before we get started, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to our sponsors who help make these programs possible. So thank you to TDS, to Park Bank, and the QTI Group. A few things and things to note along the way. Darcy did drop in a menti.com website. So that's the web address that you would go to along with a code. So we're going to be doing some interactive work today. So she'll be asking questions and polls that we'll be able to see live results. So it might be a good idea to bring those up on your screen. Also, we would ask that you guys stay on mute just to kind of eliminate background noise. We do encourage cameras to be on so we can see your beautiful faces out there. Another thing that you might want to consider is up in the top right, there's going to be, it looks like one of those little clapboards from the movies, and it says view next to it. If you click on speaker view, you're going to be able to see the presentation in Darcy's face. Not that we don't love everybody else's faces, but sometimes that's a really nice speaker view to have during this. So with that, I would love to introduce our speaker for today. So Darcy Luoma served as the director of United States Senator Herb Kohl's office for 12 years before launching Darcy Luoma Coaching and Consulting, where she and her team have worked with more than 500 organizations in 48 industries to create high-performing people and teams by solving their people problems. While Darcy has a double major in German and mathematics, the only time she uses these skills is when trying to double a recipe for German Black Forest cake. She first discovered her love of coaching while doing her master's thesis at Pepperdine University on the impact of coaching. She is a master certified coach who designed the rigorous certified professional coach program at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and now serves as the director of training. She was honored to be voted Madison, Wisconsin's favorite coach 4 times. Darcy's in her 23rd season of doing triathlons of every length, including a full Ironman. Her lifetime love of being physically fit for the body created the spark for her model of being thoughtfully fit for the mind. When she isn't training her body or mind, she loves spicy chai lattes, afternoon naps, and yin yoga. But her most important and most challenging role is being mom to 2 energetic and spunky teenage daughters, who somehow convinced her to get a 90-pound foster dog to ensure that COVID quarantine didn't get boring. They now have 6 fosters. She's the author of the forthcoming book, Thoughtfully Fit, a training plan for life and business success, and she's here today to help you be thoughtfully fit. Please join me in welcoming Madison's favorite life coach and professional yoga napper, Darcy Luoma.
Good morning. I have to say, I was talking to somebody recently, a friend, and she said, Darcy, this whole pandemic, this whole COVID has sort of felt like a marathon, hasn't it? I mean, it's definitely not a sprint. And I said, yeah, I get the metaphor, absolutely. And yet, I don't know. At least with a marathon, we know that it's going to end at 26.2 miles. Right now, we don't know if we're in mile 6 or mile 20. And that has made it be incredibly challenging for many people. Not to mention, if you're going to do a marathon, likely you're going to train. And I don't know how many of you train for COVID and social distancing and remote working and trying to figure out how to be effective at home, right? I don't know about all of you. My daughters are still doing remote schooling. So I have asked them to please not play the tuba when we, for the next hour that we're together. I'll apologize in advance, or if our foster dog starts barking. So some of us have had the challenges of how to be effective working remotely from home, being on top of others, and trying to stay connected with colleagues and figure out how to communicate while others of us have been essential workers and are back in the workplace trying to navigate wearing masks and social distancing and how to communicate when you can't read facial expressions. And I have found that there's always people problems. That's what our company does. We help organizations and teams navigate their people problems. But what I have found is that in this last year, the people problems are elevated. The stress is higher. The unknowns and the uncertainty has created a lot of additional people problems, communication issues, conflict, lack of trust. And when the pandemic first started, I found that there's this range of emotions, and usually starting with shock and frustration and sadness and disbelief. As it has gone on, the emotions have included some joy and gratitude and some unexpected silver linings, even hearing and reading some of the chat this morning and what's been an unexpected positive this past year. Not being in a commute for an hour each way, being able to know what my kids are doing and to have lunch with them, having a slower pace, more sleep. There's been a lot of positives amidst the challenges. And so what I'd like to do right now is invite you to take a poll. And so if you haven't yet, if you just go to menti.com and type in that number. And if for some reason you can't type it in, feel free to just watch and I'll have the results showing on the screen here. I just want to do a pulse check right now in this moment on a scale of 1 to 5. How are you feeling? We're almost a year into the pandemic, 500,000 deaths. At this moment in time, where are you at? From can't get off the couch of this marathon to winning the race. And as you can see, and if you aren't able to get into the menti.com, feel free to just type in the chat. Where are you at in this moment, a year into a global pandemic? Oh, this is fascinating. All right, I'm seeing a steady tie right now for feeling the burn and finding my stride. We don't have in the moment any couch potatoes, but also nobody's winning the race. And we've got a couple people who are having a runner's high. That's so elusive. For those of you, I don't know who's runner out there. I always try to figure out, like, when I'm having that runner's high, what did I do? How did I get here? And it seems to be very hard to recreate. So it looks like most of you are right in that middle, finding your stride. What I have found in working with clients and with individuals, teams, leaders, and organizations is that how we handle the uncertainty determines how well things will go. And how we handle that uncertainty is driven by our thoughts. Because if we simplify it at the simplest level, our thoughts lead to our actions. Always. Now, our thoughts are driven by our feelings, our beliefs, our values, our family of origin. But something happens and we have an immediate thought. We have a default thought, and that leads to our actions. So let me give you an example and have you think about what is your first thought. You get off of this chamber networking professional development event and you open up your email and you have an email from a colleague blaming and criticizing you. And it is harsh. And not only are they blaming and criticizing you for something, they have copied your entire team and your boss. What's your first thought? Go ahead if you'd like, type it in the chat. You open up your email and somebody is blaming you and criticizing you for something maybe you did, maybe you didn't do. Okay, Emily, I love it. It's all like, I won't repeat what that represents. And I'm guessing behind that is like anger, frustration. I'm seeing Amy, embarrassed. Yeah. Tara, it looks like that's maybe a combination of embarrassed and angry. They're wrong. Overwhelmed. Yes. Oh my God. You might think they're beyond unprofessional. You get defensive. So yeah. Hot flash. I'm right there with you, Lisa. Need to do damage control. You get defensive. So your first thought leads to your action. That might mean if your first thought is, what a jerk. I can't believe that he is doing this, and let alone in front of and copying everybody on the team. And you pound out an angry reply all, worse. That now just added fuel to the flames. And that might lead you to, and maybe the next morning have some regrets, at a minimum. And it might lead to, I talked about people problems are elevated. You can't just pop over into somebody's office and say, hey, sorry about that. There's a lot of added challenges. Now, if your first thought was embarrassment, it may be like, oh my God, he's right. I'm in over my head, right? Your thought is, I'm an imposter. I can't do this job anyway. And that leads to your actions. And it may be that you apologize. It may be that you just feel really crummy the rest of the day. It may be that you start drafting your resignation letter. Our thoughts lead to our actions. And what I want you to do is to think about, is this thought serving me or sabotaging me? If your first thought is serving you, that's great. Chances are you're going to respond, even if it's unexpected and it's unknown and it's hard, your thought is serving you, you're going to respond thoughtfully. But if it's sabotaging you, that's when we get defensive, we get angry, we overreact, and the people problems are escalated. And so when your first thought is sabotaging you, I want you to think about two things. Your second thought. So your first thought, it's normal, you're human. So you don't have to worry about feeling bad or shaming yourself or changing your first thought. It is what it is. We all have our, immediate reaction to things. But here's where you can change what happens next. Instead of that first thought that is maybe a sabotaging thought leading to sabotaging actions, you can ask yourself two questions. You focus on, what can I control? And you explore, what are my choices? Because when we have obstacles, when we have challenges, when there's hurdles, we often feel like we don't have choices. But you always have choices. You might feel like you are out of control. And there's a lot that's been happening the last year that is out of our control. Many of us would not have chosen a global pandemic and the political unrest and having our kids having to learn how to do remote schooling and support our kids. I had a pre-event call with somebody and they logged in and they were like, I'm in my laundry room. This is the only place that I can be where I have some privacy. When the unexpected happens, and that first thought is, oh, you're a victim, you're defensive, you're angry. I want you to think about, what are my choices and what do I control? Because that's the core of being thoughtfully fit. Now, you might be saying, okay, that's great, Darcy, and it all sounds fine in theory, but in the moment, my thoughts sabotaging me. I don't have the ability to quickly pivot to explore my choices and focus on what I control. And that's where the good news comes in. Because just like if you train for that marathon, it's going to feel easier. It's not that the marathon is easier, right? It's still 26.2 miles. There's still the same hills and the same challenging course. But if you train for it, it's going to feel easier. In the same way, you can train to be thoughtfully fit, and you can train yourself to explore your choices and focus on what you control any time. And that is the core of being thoughtfully fit. The core is all about choices and control. And when you are physically fit and have a strong core, every movement's easier. You're less likely to get injured. I was at the gym. Now, this was pre-COVID when I was still going to a gym. I'm now doing all my workouts at home by Zoom. And I was on the treadmill and I overheard a trainer. Somebody came in and he had a new client and he was saying, so tell me what's going on? What brings you in? And she said, oh my God, I have such back pain. It's miserable. And it's now to the point where I can't do anything. And I don't know why, because I'm going for walks and I'm stretching. And he said, it all comes back to your core. We have to build your core and strengthen your core. Then not only will your back pain go away, you'll be able to do every other movement more easily. That is what's at the core of being thoughtfully fit. There are 3 steps that we are going to explore today to build your core. Now, you'll see here on the slides, Thoughtfully Fit is a model that I designed that's based on thousands of hours of coaching individuals and leaders and teams. And I found that there are 6 hurdles that get in the way of success, of being high performing. And I'm going to just touch on those hurdles right now and have you reflect on which of these hurdles do you experience. So first hurdle, there is so much to do, I can't even think. That is probably the number one challenge and hurdle that clients bring into coaching. They're overwhelmed. And on the Thoughtfully Fit model, it means there's a lack of stillness. Stillness is all about being able to quiet your mind so that you can be more strategic, more creative, more innovative, so that you don't overreact in a moment impatiently. Second obstacle, I don't always handle myself the way I'd like. Maybe you come home from a stressful day, you're an essential worker and traffic was bad on the Beltline, and you walk in, you open the door to the garage, you trip over shoes, your spouse is reading the paper, dinner hasn't even started, and you immediately start spewing out, we have to get to soccer practice, and and you can see in the moment that you're not handling yourself the way you want to, and yet can't stop it. Has anybody ever experienced that? Yeah, that correlates to the practice of Thoughtfully Fit of strength. Strength is being able to consciously choose how you show up in any situation. And it's a heavy lift sometimes. Third obstacle, hurdle, I feel stuck. Clients come into coaching stuck in a relationship that's no longer fulfilling, stuck in a job that they don't know how to get to the next level. Clients are stuck. And this relates to the thoughtfully fit practice of endurance, which is about being able to overcome obstacles, to go the long haul. It's what we're talking about today, how to have the resilience to overcome those obstacles and the unexpected challenges. It's about having and embracing a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset where it's like, I'm not good at math. I'm not a runner. I'm not good at public speaking. I don't know how to connect with people by Zoom. You add the word yet. When you have a growth mindset, I'm not a runner yet, but I could be if I wanted to, if I trained. I don't know how to connect with my team virtually yet, but I could. All right, so those 3 obstacles are internal, where we get in our own way. The next 3 hurdles are external, in relationship with others. Okay, so 4th one, I'd be fine if only you were different. Can you relate? If somebody else would behave different, then you could be happy. If only your spouse would remember to turn the coffee on in the morning or take out the garbage. If only your boss would smile when you walked by. This relates to the thoughtfully fit practice of flexibility, which is being able to stretch to accept others just as they are. And if you can't accept someone for who they are, can you at least accept the fact that you can't change them? Challenge number 5, I have relationships that aren't working. Personal, professional. Maybe you're over-functioning. Maybe you are always the one to stand back and say, oh, it's okay. I'm not going to say anything. Your relationships are out of balance. And thoughtfully fit, when you have balance, you achieve alignment, you find the win-win in that relationship. And the last hurdle is, I don't handle myself well when I am blindsided. I overreact. Something happens, somebody comes into a meeting and attacks me, I shut down, I stonewall, I attack back, I cry. That relates to the practice of agility, which is being able to respond effectively in the moment instead of reacting on autopilot. So here's what I'd like you to do is go into the menti.com again, and I'll put the code in case anybody has joined us and you're new, and want you to just reflect on and vote here to which of these hurdles do you experience? And you can pick as many as apply. Let's just take a look. Okay, I'm seeing a lot for I react poorly when blindsided. That's got the lead right now. There's so much to do, I can't even think. I don't always handle myself the way I want. Okay. Those are the top 3 right now. I feel stuck is coming up fast here.
This is so cool, Darcy.
Who said that? I can't see you.
Sarah.
Oh, awesome. Being able to see people vote in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is cool because it's a way to see what's happening in an efficient, convenient way. Now, here's what I want to ask you next. And I guess I'm not surprised that a lack of stillness and a lack of agility are their top 2 right now. So here's what I'd like to ask you to just type in now. How do these hurdles, these challenges, these obstacles show up for you? Is it personally, professionally? What does that look like? What do these hurdles look like for you? How or where do they show up? And go ahead and just type in an example The great news is it's all anonymous. So you can be as vulnerable as you want to be or not. And thank you. It looks like some people are also typing in the chat. That is perfect. So I'm seeing, poor time management, inability to focus on goals. Oh, yeah. It affects me, it shows up personally, and some say professionally. Total shutdown and checking out. Thank you for just naming that, right? I mean, we have challenges and sometimes we don't handle it well and we check out. With my kids. Yeah. Been in the same role for 19 years, feeling a little stuck. Right. Procrastination. Lack of patience and major frustration leading to shutting down. Lack of self-care. I hope as you're scanning these, you're realizing that you're not alone. You're not alone. What we're going to do now is look at how can you train? How can you build your resilience in uncertain times? How can you engage your core? So it is 3 simple steps. Pause, think, and act. And so for a moment, what I'd like to do is just let me be your coach and share with you how you can use these 3 steps immediately when you leave this event and you get that email that creates that thought that sabotages you. In that moment, you hit the pause button. Instead of reacting on autopilot and having your knee-jerk reaction be a jerk, you pause in that moment and think. You slow it down and then you act more thoughtfully. So what does that look like? All right, step 1, the pause. This is most critical. And oftentimes it's the hardest step because you have to get off of autopilot. How many of you have ever played baseball and used a pitching machine, or have you seen a pitching machine? You know what that is? So this was my daughter, Jaden, probably, I don't know, when she was about 8. I took her to Little League early because she wanted to practice pitching. And so she went and turned on the pitching machine to practice like she had done before. And the balls were coming at her and she's like going crazy and they're hitting her. And it was just insane. And I'm watching this. And what she didn't know was that the machine was set to the high school varsity girls team who was using it before her. And so she ran up and hit the pause button. And she reset it. I'm wondering where in your life you are on autopilot and things are coming at you fast and you're just reacting. And what you really need to do is hit the pause button. Anytime you are learning a new sport, the first thing you learn is how to stop. Whether it's downhill skiing or ice hockey, you name it. Even driving a car, you have to learn how to stop. But what's key is if you think about driving a car and you get to a stop sign, you don't stop and take out your lunch and your laptop and start doing some work. You just pause long enough to look to raise your awareness so that you can proceed carefully. So I want you to think about that pause like a stop sign that just kicks you off of autopilot so that you can get to step 2, which is to think. And this step, maybe you need a lot of time to think. That email really triggered you and you just need to go for a walk with the dog and take some time. Or it may be that it happens in 2 seconds. When my daughter was in ice hockey, she played peewees and then bantam. And they had a parents' kids game at the end of the season. And so I've never played hockey before. This is me with my daughter, Josie. And so I got all suited up and I went out there, thinking, oh, this is going to be fun. Well, another parent would pass the puck to me. And you guys, I didn't pause to think. It was like a hot potato. I just, hit that thing. I didn't pay attention for a second to who I should pass to, whether the goalie was open. I didn't think. I just acted. Where in your life could you benefit from taking a moment to think before you act impulsively? And this is the place where you can ask those 2 questions to really engage your core. What do I control? And what are my choices? Okay, I could choose to hit reply all to this email and be really angry and snippy and defensive. But I also could choose a different approach because I control how I respond. We don't control what happens to us. We don't control global pandemics. We don't control when others behave poorly, but we do control how we respond and what our choices are in that moment. And so that then takes us to step 3, which is to act. And hopefully then because you took the time to pause and think, you can act thoughtfully. Now, my other daughter, Jaden, played basketball a couple of years ago, and she would get the ball. She played for one season, kids' best basketball, and she didn't play again. She didn't love it. She would get the basketball and she'd dribble, and then she'd pivot, and she'd dribble, and then she'd pivot. And the kids are like, "Here, me, I'm open, shoot it." They'd be doing all this, and she would just be thinking. And she would be paralyzed. Can any of you relate? Like you think well, but your strength taken to extreme becomes a weakness. You have to act. You have to take the shot. That really tough conversation you need to have with your coworker, you don't overreact in the moment. You pause and you think, how do I want to say it? Okay, what's the example? How can I say it in a way that won't make him defensive? And you think and think and think and think, and you get analysis paralysis. You actually have to take the shot. You have to act. You have to do all 3 in order: wash, rinse, repeat. So let's take a quick poll. Most of us do one of these well by default. So let's just see if you vote on each of these. How well do you pause? From, oh, I'm awful at pausing, to I am awesome. I'm really good at pausing. As a matter of fact, I'm so good at pausing, it might turn into like a 5-hour Netflix binge. How are you doing at thinking? Some of you are awful. Like, I don't think at all. I just go and act. Maybe you're really good at thinking, but you get stuck. And then the act. Okay, if you're awful at acting, it might be that you just get paralyzed and you don't have the courage, or maybe you're awesome at it. I am noticing, I love this. Okay, let's just see how our numbers are coming in. It looks like this group is strongest on the think. We've got a 3.7 average. And if you look at the shading, you can see where the individuals are voting for each of those. So the pause, there's a lot of people in the middle, 2.8. That's where the biggest hump is to the votes. The think, more people are awesome at the think. And then the act, it looks like, oh, that's pulling up. One of the keys to being able to handle yourself thoughtfully in any situation is having the awareness of what your default is, right? So if your default is to think, I don't know if I sit on this longer, maybe I'll be able to think about it or figure it out, or oh, maybe if I don't say anything, he'll just figure it on his own. Maybe I don't need to have that difficult conversation. Our thoughts lead to our actions. So one of the things that I put together for you today, if you'd like, is because we're talking about resilience and we're talking about how do you handle yourself, I've got a resource that's 9 steps to endurance. It's a PDF that will be sent to you immediately. If you'd like it, you can read it, print it, forward it to colleagues and other team members. If you'd like to sign up to get that right now, you can just take out your phone. And if you open up your text message and put in the, whoops, here we go. Put in the, I don't know why that one isn't there right now. Sorry, I'm just going to put it in the text box because for some reason that slide isn't showing up. If you put in the to box where you are going to send the message, type in the number 33444. And then in the message, just type in the word endurance. So if you type in 33444 and then the message, type in endurance, it will ask for your email address. If you type in your email address, it will automatically email you that PDF. And I did just find that slide. Here we go. It will automatically send that to you. And you will also get signed up for my Thoughtfully Fit tips. They come out every Wednesday. And they're a snippet of what I'm learning and noticing from working with teams and organizations. And if you want to unsubscribe, you can unsubscribe at any time from that. So this is how you engage your core. And what's key to remember is that you just start where you are. So whatever awareness you're having right now is a beautiful launching point to move forward to start to engage your core. If you notice that you don't pause well, when you leave here, you can immediately begin your training. And you can start when you pull into the parking lot to get your groceries and somebody takes that last spot and you just want to react and flip them off. Maybe that's your place to pause in that moment and think, is this really how I want to use my energy in this moment? Do I really want to be angry at this person? Or worse, spark something where road rage or something. And then choose your response thoughtfully. And when you do that, you start small with anything, just like with training, whether you're going to be doing a 5K or a marathon or learning how to swim, you start where you are and you keep training. And the more you train, the easier it gets. This is your core workout. This is what I'd like you to focus on when you leave here, is how you can resist your default so that you can pause in the moment, think, and then give yourself the chance to act thoughtfully. And when you do that, just like if you did 20 sit-ups today and nothing else for the next month, you're not going to be building your core strength. So you have to be consistent. So if you do that on the little things, you'll be able then to have the strength built up to handle yourself thoughtfully on the big things, because it eventually becomes your new autopilot. Anybody know Michael Phelps? He's I think still the most decorated Olympic swimmer. I think he's got 28 medals. Michael Phelps, in one of his Olympic races, dove in and his goggles came off. He had practiced and trained so much that he knew exactly how many strokes it was to the other side, when to do his flip turn. And he won the race. So this isn't about being perfect. This is about practicing. This is about being able to connect to your core and finding your strength. If you act from your core, you'll move mountains. So when you leave here today, look for that opportunity to engage your core, to hit the pause button before you act. Think, what are my choices and what do I control? And then act thoughtfully.